Now, if a company was listening to this and they're engaged in their CX programs and they want to develop effective leadership to, I suppose, A, get the right leaders in place for their CX programs, or B, make them more effective, and they spoke to you, what would your starting point be with a company? What's the sort of program they should go through? Would you benchmark them with your data, or how would you work with them?
Well, as you know, our firm is a great believer that one of the gifts you can give every leader to help him or her become more effective is some accurate information through the eyes of others that help them to understand two things. What are they really good at? What do they do really well? And are there any things that they do that truly gets in their way, that kind of detracts from their performance? And if you can help them get this information and process it and put together for themselves a personal plan of development, and then follow through with them, don't just drop it there, but to kind of follow through with them and make sure that they're implementing and following through on those commitments that they've made about how they're going to improve their behavior. You can make some marvelous differences. And you can see over a period of time people getting better. We had one client that measured a group of executives, a group of leaders in their company. And over a 12 to 18 month period of time, this group of people improved on all of the 16 competencies that we were measuring at a statistically significant level. So people can and do really improve if the organization creates the right environment. So I think the second thing that maybe you would encourage people to kind of think about is, what are those pools of talent in the organization now that tend to get overlooked? Because there is going to be a shortage for talent. And we think the three big pools are, number one, women. You well know, at the frontline level of the organization, it's about 50-50 men and women. And then as you move up the pyramid right now, you get to the point of having only 3% of the CEOs who were hired last year around the world were women. We're missing this wonderful pool of talent. And why I say it's a wonderful pool of talent is because our data says that women tend to be more effective than men on 12 of the 16 competencies that we traditionally kind of measure. And there are only two that they don't do quite as well on. And those two are strategic thinking, and the other one is technical and professional expertise. So they're not quite as technical. But by the time they reach the age 40, 45, 50, it's all leveled out. And on those two dimensions. And women tend to be more results driven, more innovative. They function better with each other. They naturally, I think, are a little bit more nurturing than their male counterparts. They tend to be better collaborators, better team players. You maybe know the name Tom Peters, who wrote a book a number of years ago, In Search of Excellence. I've heard Tom say, when I was working with him many years ago, that he thought that women were better leaders than men, but didn't have any data to prove it. We now have the data to prove it. I mean, they really are better. The second big pool of talent, I think, is the young supervisors, the people who are between the ages of 25 and 30 years of age. On average, organizations promote people into those supervisory positions at around the age of 27. But the average age of people going through any leadership development in corporations, at least in North America, is like 36. which means that on average, the typical supervisor has been functioning for several years with no training, no development. And I'm not sure what sport you play, but if you learn to ski when you're 5 and 6 and 7 years of age, you ski differently than when you learn when you're 40.
Yeah.
Or if you learn to play tennis when you're kind of in your, single-digit years rather than much later in life. So I think we make a big mistake in not giving people development at an earlier stage in their career. And the third big talent is that, or third big pool is that there's a lot of talent inside organizations in the form of individual contributors who have many of the qualities of being a good leader.
Yeah.
But maybe they just have never kind of seen the opportunity and seen their aspirations haven't been in that direction because they've never thought of themselves in that role. But exposed to what leaders need to do and exposed to the fact that they have a lot of the qualities and traits that good leaders possess, they become a third big pool in the organization. So right now, companies go out and they poach from their competitors, and we spend a lot of money recruiting, and we
don't think about your own pool,
and we just walk out. We walk by all this great talent inside the organization that I don't think we can afford to walk by.
Yeah, and this is so critical for customer experience. And I'll always go back to this link: happy employees, happy customers. Perhaps it should be happy leadership, happy employees, happy customers. But it's and creating that leadership effectiveness seems to be at the heart of that correlation, and the heart of that change. So you need to develop that talent.
It clearly is the trigger. I mean, it's the thing that gets it all rolling and gets it started.
Yeah, absolutely.